For those of you who have been following the series, welcome back. For those of you who may be here for the first time, very welcome to you. If you have missed any of the previous sessions that we have done, please feel free to visit our Thinkroom YouTube channel, where you will be able to have a look at the previous sessions. Some housekeeping guidelines: you will notice that your microphone and your video functions are disabled on entry. I'm encouraging you to communicate with us during this session through the chat function. The Thinkroom team will be monitoring this throughout the session while we are on. And then please feel free to drop your contact details in the chat group and your value proposition for other companies to actually connect with you. You never know if there's maybe some synergies on the platform that you will find after the session. Then I'm truly excited to present the tech solution session to you today, as tech is one of my passions, and I can go on and on forever. So I'm really going to try to keep this to 45 minutes or less than 45 minutes, so that we have like 5 minutes for Q&A. I'm fascinated by automating processes and creating new and interesting positions because of some processes being automated. Someone once said to me, over the last 200 years, the accounting principles haven't changed. And that made me even think more on even project management principles and processes that can be automated to help SMEs to make things a little bit easier. So with that said, let's jump into the discussion points that we are going to have for today. So the touch points for this session will setting the scene. Before we jump into the tech assessment itself, we will need to set the background to understand where we want to go and what we want to accomplish. It doesn't help just going through all the tech functions. I mean, there's so much that everybody is throwing out to you at the moment that I think everybody is inundated with how to and what to, and not really knowing how the process should be tackled to know how you assess your technology. Then we will be looking at the resources and assets within your company to see what will be influenced or what's going to influence the technology within the company. And so now we have set the scene and understanding the tech from the assessment side. So what now? How are we going to bring all of this together? And I'm going to take one example of how to actually do that. Okay, so we had offices before COVID. We had this daily or weekly or monthly routines of checking in with each other physically. It felt sometimes if we had this disconnect in virtual communication, it was very easy to arrange a meeting or a quick get together in the office if you have like an open plan office, just to understand or get realigned in our way of going forward or any issues or challenges that we had on projects. We also have this, we call it the water cooler, but a lot of offices used to have kitchens where people get together, where they make coffee. And during that time, especially on a Monday morning, if you know, I think it would have been something like, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend? Was there anything interesting? And during the day, if you connect with, or the week, and you connect with people, you can actually see when some of your co-workers are taking strain, and you can actually help them and saying, is there something that you can help them out with? So if we take all of this and we go into, I almost want to say everybody calls this the new normal, but I want you to think of this as normal. If we go through this presentation, I want you to position yourself in this world as normal. It's not a new normal, but this is now your normal. Many people are experiencing a feeling of isolation and claustrophobia because they stuck at home. But in certain countries, I mean, people have been in lockdown for more than 7 weeks. Some countries are lifting their restrictions. So some of those people who have been in lockdown are actually now going back to work. And I just want to mention on a totally different note, I think this guy working from home with his wife in the kitchen in the background is maybe the most happiest man I've ever seen in my life working from home. Okay, so let's tackle the elephant. You know the saying, how do you eat an elephant? Now the answer normally is a bite at a time. For me, it's with a knife and a fork. I normally go into the minutest deliverable possible to see how we can actually deliver on outcomes. So for me, technology is that knife and fork. I'm going to break this down into 3 major blocks just for simplicity. And I need you to, as I said previously, keep in mind that the pandemic started in December 2019. And as mentioned, this has touched each and every one of us on one or other form or matter. So this is normal. It's not a new normal. We need to keep that in mind. So if we go to the first block, which is home, the most important thing to understand when you work from home is to have a routine, just like you would have had at the office. So you would have had a normal time for lunch or whatever that may be. So yes, you are now at home. You've got the flexibility of setting your own working hours. If you have lunch or a coffee break, that's also when you want to take it. Maybe you were working in a factory where you were supposed to take it at a certain time, whatever the case may have been. But set yourself up at home in this routine to have at least 3 top deliverables for the day, and know that your day is not done if those 3 deliverables are not done for the day. That's the only way of how you're going to get into this work routine. Now, with people going back to work, we have a hybrid model that we need to start thinking about, because you're going to have some deliverables at work. And if you are like me, right in the beginning when I started remote working, I remember there was a few times when I actually forgot my laptop at home and I had to go back. So I know it's small and simple things that we have to think about, but it's still, if we work those things into our routine, life just starts getting easier. So with people going back to work, there's either both or only one parent at home. So we still have kids at home, because in a lot of countries, they haven't started yet with school, except in Sweden, if I'm correct. So then we're going to have one parent at home who needs to look after the kids. So the best advice that I can give is to actually get your children into a routine as well. And that would also help them to get a little bit more structure in the day. If I can give you an example, we are 2 people working from home. We have a limited space. So obviously we can't have online meetings at the same time, for instance, like now. So we not only juggle our company diaries, we also have set up a home diary to know when I'm online or when the person that's with me is going to be online, and making sure that we don't cross over because we won't be able to speak at the same time. And then this will also help to get a little bit of that routine of, if if this is now a marriage or partnership or whatever that may have been, if I'm on this call, maybe somebody else can look after the kids if there is somebody else at home, and however that may have worked out for you. Important thing is we need to realize when to disengage as well if you're working from home, because your normal life is still going on. It is important to know that you can't work all the time, because you're definitely going to burn out before the pandemic is over. So if you want to beat this, remember to take care of yourself as well. I'm going to go over to the people block. So in the people column, I want you to think of not only yourself, if you are a small business owner, a line manager, a division boss, employee, think about your whole company. So for me, I'm thinking about the other departments within our business, not only within our business, but also external consultants who normally help us. Remember that all of these people in your environment is going through emotions, just like you are going through emotions. Remember, for managers and executives, I think at this point in time, it's extremely anxious time, because they can't see what's the levels of productivity where they normally had a direct line of sight. They maybe don't have that anymore, depending on their workflow systems, whatever they have in the company. So when you think of all of this, just remember, when you interact with people, be kind. Be kind, because you don't know what that situation may be at home. I mean, on our side, there may be a, like I said to my team yesterday, we had a burst pipe in the house. And while we have this burst pipe with luckily emergency services that can come out, we're having online meetings as well. So be kind to each other, because you don't know what's happening in that person's world, virtual world on the other side that you are connecting with. Okay, number 3, money. So previously we had sessions on strategy, sales, marketing, GTM, and finance. All of those had outcomes that will help you to determine what your tech solutions would be. So you have processes and procedures within your company at the moment, and those will help also with what your tech solutions need to be, what applications to use, and then obviously to research and look at those licensing agreements that's going with those applications. I want you to think of technology as a friend, not something to hamper your normal day, but it's a friend. We cannot approach this this period that we're going through, that is now normal, as just writing this out. We need to get back to the principles of continuously improving our business model or the way that we do business, so that we can give the best service to our customers. So for me, this is the opportune time now to be that person to lead through this time that we are in at the moment. So looking at assessing the technology within your company, let's have a look at the technology within your business. The current state would be that you have a laptop and equipment that you are working with, either from a mobile or a Wi-Fi connection. You have been using some sort of Office product. This might be a G Suite from Google, or maybe Office 365 from Microsoft, or something from AWS if you're very much into programming. It is highly recommended, if you have not used the online cloud storage previously, that you definitely start implementing this now. This enables or assists the people who is in your work environment to collaborate together on documents and deliverables. But the most important thing for me on a cloud solution that you have is it is a backup system. Because if something happens to your equipment, or if something fails, you always have your cloud service as a backup system. We would also, in our current state, have a workflow system. This might be something like a fully fledged CRM, a customer relationship management system, or you may have something lighter, that's a free version like Trello, just to have the workflow within the company. Or even your email system can be used as a workflow system. You have communication tools within the office. Normally, previously, it would have been in person if you were in our office, but you would have communicated with your clients on a different basis. So think what that may have been. That may have been Zoom, like we are using it now, or maybe Microsoft Teams, or Google Hangouts, or Skype, whatever that may have been. You can now use that technology that you had, and you can implement that to also communicate with your team, and not only with your customers. And then, if we are running a business today, you definitely need to have a website. A website is not a niche anymore. It is a necessity. And then obviously coming with that is all your social platforms as well. That's an asset at the moment for your company. Okay, if we take this and the assets that we have at the moment, how are we going to use that technology to enhance the output? So thinking now about the technology that drives your processes and your procedures in the business that we have discussed on the previous slide. How can you now use what you have to enhance the current state to be truly scalable and mobile with your tech to enable your employees to deliver on the outputs? So to integrate the human side, which is the engagement side that you see on the slide, to integrate the human side and the tech, we have to first establish the following. Determine the needs within your business. What do you want to accomplish? And then what are the objectives for operation, workflow, communication, and engagement? How will this happen? Which tools do you use? What's the cost of the tools? And do you need to provide training on these tools to employees if it's maybe something that you don't have at the moment that you need to acquire? And how will you measure the success or the goals that you have set out to reach? So once you've determined the entity that you are going to engage with, may that be a colleague or a customer, or thinking in terms of, is it a formal engagement or an informal engagement? Meaning, are you going to have a quick one-on-one call with a customer to sort out a small issue or challenge that you're not sure of on a deliverable that the customer wants? That is very much an informal call that you will have. But if you are a coach or a mentor and you're going to have a one-on-one coaching session, obviously that's more formal. There needs to be content created for that session. There need to be preparation time for the session. It's a one-on-one session, so the platform that may be used is Skype, because normal Skype is very stable for up until about 7 to 10 people. So the group session or the amount of people participation in that session will also be very important. Some services at the moment, especially during this time, is because big corporates are trying to help SMEs and other businesses. So a lot of these services that we have at the moment, if you are going to look at them, are for free, or it's very much a freemium option. So remember, if you go and you are going to look at, I don't know, G Suite or Office 365, there may be discounts at this point in time that you will receive that later on you maybe need to pay full amount for, and that may be as close as maybe September this year, or maybe whatever that premium model is, it's maybe January next year. They also go and look at connections. At the moment, we have in South Africa, NTN, who's providing data cheaper to SMEs and their employees to make sure that they will be able to connect from home. And as I've said, always important, cost for any SME or any small business, always important. So remember the licensing structure that you have, that you will later on have to pay for. And that licensing structure is normally per user, per seat. And if you look at other sessions like webinars and that type of thing, you will notice when you go through the research that for webinars, they normally ask, how many hosts do you want on your platform? How many co-hosts do you want on your platform? How many participants must be able to connect on this platform? So remember to keep all of those costs that are now at a freemium base, maybe, to keep those costs in mind when you go through the research on the platforms. Okay, so we've done now what you've done, what you have in your business, where your customers are, where your links are. So what now? So let's take an example for, I'm going to do a workshop for 20 participants. So you know the platform that you are using is going to be a group. It's a group session. So I'm going to use Teams as an example. So if you have a workshop, you are going to set out, obviously, the date, the time, which people need to be in there, who's just going to attend, who's going to participate in this workshop. So obviously you have to communicate, may that be via email or a workflow system that you have, who's going to be the contributors, who's going to get the content ready, what's the outcome and the success factors that needs to be communicated as well. So now we have, you've gone and you have let people know this is the time and the date and the attendee list. You've got your agenda that you've sent out with your invite. You know that you're going to have a group session. You're going to use a platform where you can use video for all participants. So it's a platform that's stable, that will be able to handle 20 participants. And then obviously after your workshop, those outcomes and success factors need to be communicated back to the larger group, and that larger group can be informed either via your workflow system, may that be a monday.com, or through email, if this is now making sense or a good example for you. I also want to go into the different types of technology and engagement. So you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, I have only made mention of team, customer, and supplier. And at the top, we've got different platforms. As I've mentioned, a lot of people are feeling very disengaged at the moment. So there are quite a few virtual office platforms, I've only listed two, where you can actually see your office. So you have a virtual office with the avatar, with your office or open plan workspace. You've got meeting rooms that you can walk in, walk out of. Everything is very visual. So if you have that that feeling of disengagement with your team, these virtual offices that you can use where you can actually have that visibility. In our business, we make use of Skype. We have different Skype groups. And one of these groups that we have, for instance, is the water cooler group. Now, on this water cooler group, yes, we share business information as well, but there is over time that we share tidbits of whatever is interesting in the news, what's happening around the world, and that occasionally I need a pizza recipe. Who's got a pizza base recipe that I can use and maybe share then afterwards how that actually the outcome was. As I said, we've got one-on-one engagements, and that one-on-one engagement is very much, is it an informal engagement or a formal engagement? And that will navigate where you need to actually do that. Is it a mobile call or a landline or a WhatsApp call? If you have that type of relationship with a customer or a supplier. If not, then very formal mobile calls is still very much in place. On the workflow side, I've only put that under team purely for the reason that if you take CRM systems that you have out there, it's so vast. You actually have your clients that can connect to your CRM system or your workflow system. But at the end of the day, the core functionality of the workflow or CRM system will be the responsibility of the team. So that's why I didn't put it under customer. So your workflow system, as I've said, it can be as light as being your email, your normal Outlook email, or a free base of Trello, although you can go into Trello's more detailed application once you buy a license. Then you also have monday.com. Thinkroom uses monday.com. For us, it's a great tool because we have a workflow for each project where we can have outside guests that come actually into our projects that can also have visibility on the system. You've got Basecamp. Obviously, every business should have an accounting package. I know it's not always possible, especially in the in the beginning stages, then we very much default back to Excel and downloading the bank statements in Excel and then providing that to whoever is going to do your accounting for you. Very much aware of that. But once you get to that stage, I'm thinking of entry-level accounting packages like Sage Online or Xero. There are smaller packages that can help you with that initial setup before you go to the larger, I almost say licensing part of those packages. Then, as I've mentioned, CRM, there are various CRMs out there. There are actually free online web CRM systems for SMEs that start out with maybe 2 or 3 clients. Obviously, that model will be based, the licensing model on CRMs are very much based on how many users, admin users are you going to have on this system. Normally when you go more than one, that's when you start paying for your licenses. And then obviously all the functionality that you want in that CRM. Do you want that CRM to be able to remember your customer's birthday, what they've ordered the last time from you? Do you have to run a social campaign from your CRM? Then obviously you're going into these vast Dynamics 365 CRMs that's quite expensive. And I would think that's more like when you go into that part where you almost are enterprise level. Then if you go and look at any session that you want to have for more than 5 participants, this is how I normally gauge it. 5 is an informal group for me. It's a small meeting, anything above 5. Then I go to something like Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, Zoom like we're using now. There's other options like Hop-in is also a very nice platform. And then obviously the developers out there that's doing the development on the AWS stack, they normally use Amazon Chime. And then you've got Join Me as well. And there's a iMeet Central. There's quite a few conferencing, workshop, meeting platforms out there. For me, it's always, I always go and look at the top 5 in usage, because then I know the person who I'm going to interact with will have knowledge of the system to connect to the system and not going to have difficulties in trying a new platform. So for me, it's always in this new world that we are very much evolving the whole time and making sure that we're keeping up with trends, still to have that small bit of familiarity to make sure that I feel comfortable with my tech. And if it's something that you need to implement from a new way forward because of your business model that pivoted, now you're going to do webinars and you're going to have WebEx or On24 or GoToWebinars or Crowdcast, and it's something new that you are now going to implement within the business, remember to give proper training to your employees to actually understand the platform and to make sure once you're engaging with a customer that your employees are actually in that position to assist the customer as well. A lot of us, I'm sure, have booked for expos or conferences that we were going to attend this year, and everything all of a sudden came to a halt. For those people who do expos, definitely online expos, it's a reality, it's possible. And there's even some of these platforms like On24 or Expo platform where you can have sponsors to actually partake in your platform. So you have a normal expo as with all your sponsorships, your keynote speakers, your panelists. So these options are out there. But once again, those platforms are very much more priced in per event or per session. They don't go very much on per user, purely for a reason that it's almost like a once off or maybe twice a year that you would use this platform. Then, as I've said previously, feeling disengaged, it also fits in nicely with the virtual office that I've mentioned previously, is networking. Networking, I've actually mentioned under customer and supply, because that's where you want to meet with different people outside of the company to actually grow your network. I've only mentioned 3 days, but there's so many platforms. And once again, go and assess the needs of your company, what you want, to see which of these platforms are going to suit you and cost-wise. Remo, Meet, and Hopin is some of the nice ones that I've seen. It's also a setup that you can see virtually with all these little tables, and the tables are normally marked to say, okay, you are now going to attend this table where they are going to talk about strategy, and it's led by one or other expert coach in this industry. So you have the option to go and join a table, participate in the conversation, networking. Remo, for instance, has the option that you can actually share your screen. So if I'm going to sit at a table and it's going to be about new channels, for instance, I can have a value proposition deck that I can show to these people around this virtual table. So for networking, there's a few of these, and it's maybe good to test this out, to go and see if you want to keep, I almost want to say, connected to your existing channel, maybe have something like a Remo or a Meet where you can say, let's have a check-in and see what's going on in each other's world. And as I've said previously, with website, all those social media platforms comes like Facebook. You've got Facebook Workplace, websites, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for if you're in the entertainment business, home crafts, very much Pinterest. And then obviously you have tools to actually manage all these platforms as well. I know I'm on 35 minutes. So going from here, I would like to leave you with the following. Professor Neil Gershenfeld is the director of MIT's Center of Bits and Atoms, where his unique laboratory is breaking down boundaries between digital and physical worlds, from pioneering even quantum computing, which I'm very interested in, by the way, to digital fabrication of the Internet of Things. And he said, give ordinary people the right tools and they will design and build the most extraordinary things. And I truly, truly believe in that. If you give someone the right tool, they will be able to give you more than what you ever can expect. Whatever that output may have been, they can exceed it purely of having the right tool at their fingertips. So that's me from my side. Can the Thinkroom team let me know if there are any questions that came through on the chat line?
Hi, Zuanda. Thank you so much for that very informative session. There are no current questions on the chat box at the moment. So awesome. For those of you on the session, please feel free to pop any questions on there. And Zuanda, our technical expert, will be, I'm sure, able to answer them.
Absolutely, Laftek. I think if you do the mind shift of, and I know we have different age groups and different generations, but every generation communicates differently and use tech differently. I mean, I don't even have a slide on that at the moment, but if you even take that and you mash them up, or you collaborate between generations of how to use tools and technology, that's also very interesting when you start playing around with that, how to automate those systems for people to understand from older generations and the younger generations coming in. Are we good on the chat, Mary?
All good. Just a lot of appreciation and thank you for the informative session.
It's a big pleasure.
Thanks again, Zuanda.
It's a big pleasure. Hope everyone have a lovely day. Thank you.